This is a cow path, though it wasn't made by a cow. Also known as an elephant path, game trail, or social trail, these dirt routes are formally called desire paths or desire lines. They are a result of people following the shortest or easiest route to a common destination, even if that route deviates from the paved sidewalks the developers would prefer us to use. But what do these desire paths have to do with tabletop role-playing games and game design? Hello, I'm Joshua of Milestone Play. I'm a professional game master, and today we will be discussing inspiration and luck in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. We'll be looking at their mechanics, how their use at the table may deviate from intended play, and what the designers have done to try to remedy that situation. Let's get going. The first mechanic we're going to look at is inspiration. Inspiration is a reward game masters can use to encourage quality play at the table. The 2014 Player's Handbook suggests that a game master can reward their players with a point of inspiration for playing into their personality traits and flaws, even if those actions wouldn't be the optimal choice for the party. Players may also gift their inspiration to another player to reward good role-playing, clever thinking, or doing something to make the game more fun for the group. Essentially, inspiration defaults to operant conditioning for good roleplay. The book does leave it open for the game master to inform their group how they can earn inspiration. In next week's video, I'll be going into some of the techniques I have used to award inspiration in the past. Once a player has inspiration, what do they do with it? Inspiration can be spent to grant yourself an advantage on a d20 roll. Advantage allows you to roll the die twice and take the higher number. The basics to inspiration are simple. Give the player a gold star for playing well at the table, and they get to roll twice on an upcoming roll to help them succeed. However, in a rules-heavy game like D&D, simplifying the phrasing of a rule often leaves out important details. In my experience, many players of TTRPGs don't internalize rules word for word, but a simplified version of those rules. For inspiration, that internalization is, I can spend this to get a second roll, and I can spend my inspiration on someone else. While true in heart, players then feel like the rules allow for things that they don't. For instance, you might be able to gift another player your inspiration as a reward, but can you spend your inspiration to give that player advantage on a roll because you want them to succeed? That skips the middleman. But what if the other player just threw themselves into harm's way in front of the dragon to save another party member and you were swept up in that moment? The game master just asked for a dexterity save, and now you realize that you should have given them your inspiration for the self-sacrifice play. But is it too late now that a die roll has been asked for? Or what if that character already has inspiration? The game master asks them to roll. They pick up the die, drop it, roll a 3, and then remember that they had inspiration. Can they use it now? They're facing down a dragon. Of course they would have used it had they remembered. This is the kind of moment they were saving it for. But inspiration gives advantage, which is meant to be granted before a roll is made. They already rolled and saw that it was low. What if they had rolled a 19? Would they have called out that they wanted to use inspiration after rolling a high number? This is where the simplified internalization of inspiration bumps up to our second mechanic that we're talking about today. Lucky is a feat that grants a player 3 luck points per day. A luck point can be spent to roll an additional d20 and choose which d20 to use. Technically, this luck d20 stacks with advantage or disadvantage to let you choose which of the 3 you want to use. Having 3 instances per day where a player can see a die roll and then roll again to choose among the dice is extremely powerful. For games that don't have long adventuring days between rests, it is even more potent. Enough game masters ban the lucky feat from their tables that I frequently have players ask, can I even take this? In general, the lucky feat is exceedingly more powerful than inspiration in 3 ways. 1. Rolling an additional die after the fact is more powerful than advantage to roll 2 beforehand. 2. The lucky feat recharges every day rather than waiting for your game master to arbitrarily hand out inspiration. And 3. The lucky feat gives 3 uses per day rather than a limitation of only having 1 at your disposal at any given time. Lucky is what players want inspiration to be. Players will make a roll, realize that they have inspiration, and then want to spend it to get another roll. Unfortunately, this only happens when you have a bad roll. If you get a good roll, the only time you really bring up having inspiration is in the context of, "Oh, I almost spent my inspiration. I'm sure glad I didn't." Allowing inspiration to be used after the first roll essentially turns it into a luck point. Despite not being the intended rules, many game masters will run it this way. Whatever the designers intended the rules to be, that's not how players feel them. It's not how they've internalized them. It's not what they want the mechanics to be. And that leads us back to desire paths and the beginning of this video. Like architects deciding on sidewalk locations on a college campus, the users choose where they want to walk. You can't force them to stay on the sidewalk. Dirt paths will be tread where people want to go. While desire paths can mar a campus green, designers have begun to use them to influence design. The open green at Ohio State, known as the Oval, was initially unpathed. Students wore down their own desire paths. These desire paths were later paved over to make the sidewalks designed for the users rather than trying to get the users to use the design. Many campuses, whether educational, medical, or business, have used this technique and more continue to do so. The designers of D&D have paved the cow paths of inspiration and the lucky feet in the 2024 rules update. In 2024, the mechanics for both inspiration and lucky have essentially switched places. Now, inspiration is called heroic inspiration. When spent, it allows you to immediately reroll any die you just rolled. You have to take the new result. Heroic inspiration is what players wanted inspiration to be. They rolled, saw something they didn't like, and went for the reroll. This version also lets you reroll any die as opposed to just a d20, so if you're close to killing the big bad but roll a 1 on damage, you could spend it to increase the chance of landing that killing blow. But once again, you do have to take the next roll, even if it's lower. There aren't many mechanics in 5e that have degrees of bad outcomes. Most players don't have to worry about rolling a 4, spending their heroic inspiration, and suffering from rolling lower than that before. Heroic inspiration is also easier to get in trade. Human characters gain it at the end of a long rest. Additionally, if a player would gain heroic inspiration and they already have it, they may immediately give it to another player instead of it being wasted. You still can't spend your inspiration on someone else's roll, but there's gotta be a border somewhere. On the flip side, the Lucky Feat has been brought down in power and functions like 2014's inspiration. Lucky is now built around granting advantage and disadvantage rather than using its own unique wording. Lovers of the original Lucky Feat have lost its omnipotence, but game masters no longer have as strong a reason to ban the Lucky Feat from their games. The flat 3 uses has also been changed to scale with your character, starting at 2 uses per day, but eventually growing to 6. When a game updates its designs, there will always be lovers and haters to the changes. When it comes to inspiration and the Lucky Feat, the designers did their best to see how the mechanics were being used, and in some cases, weren't being used. They've tried to pave a better path forward. Now, they haven't paved everything. There are always elements that you can't get to, and you can't please everyone all the time. But what are your views on inspiration and the Lucky Feat in Dungeons & Dragons, both 2014 and 2024? For now, though, thank you for watching the video, and thank you to our patrons on Patreon for supporting works like these. I am a professional game master, so if you are looking for a one-shot, a campaign, or one of our own designed TTRPGs, you can head down to the description below to get to those links. I'm going to be at Gen Con this year, and hopefully I'll see you then. Otherwise, have a lovely